Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome. Today's Friday, and on Fridays at 9 p.m., we will be covering important topics of static GK and current affairs. For anyone who is preparing for SSB or for UPSC or any state government class 1 officer jobs, one of the most important topics that you should be very well versed with is India-Pakistan relations. Okay. However, the moment the interviewing officer or the group testing officer or whenever this topic comes up during group discussion or lecturette, candidates generally talk only about Kashmir, four wars and terrorism. And the moment they talk about these things, the IO, the GTO, they immediately know that you really don't know anything about this topic. The moment you will talk about Kashmir, four wars and terrorism, you will come across as a person who knows nothing about this topic. The board members are bored of listening to stories related to Kashmir and four wars and terrorism. Not just because that is the only thing that everyone talks about, but in reality, there is a lot more to this topic than just Kashmir, four wars, and terrorism. Today, I'll teach you how you should study these kind of topics in a way which will help you stand out from the crowd, which will help you impress the board members. So what you should do is you should study any topic like this from different angles and different important dimensions. Today, I'll help you understand how you should study this topic from the angle of trade. Today, we'll restrict our discussion to just the trade aspect of this. How is the trade relations between India and Pakistan, and how you should study it when it comes to international relations. Now, in order to understand this, we'll first try to understand how the trade situation has evolved over the last few years. So let's get started. In the year 2003, the total bilateral trade between India and Pakistan was of around 309 million US dollars. And out of this, India's exports to Pakistan were of around $225 million, whereas Pakistan's exports to India were of around $84 million. So India was having a big advantage. Then by the time the year 2009 arrived, the total bilateral trade was of around $1.8 billion, out of which India's export to Pakistan was of around $1.4 billion, and Pakistan's export to India was of around $400 million. Again, a huge advantage for India. By the time the year 2018 arrived, the total bilateral trade grew to around $2.3 billion, rather slow growth though. India's exports to Pakistan were of around $2 billion, whereas Pakistan's exports to India were of around $380 million. Now, guys, one very, very important thing you all must understand when you study any topic, be it of international relations or current affairs or government schemes or anything, one thing you should get very well versed is the numbers, the facts and figures related to that particular topic. If you are going to talk about that topic, but you do not have numbers ready, you do not have numbers learned by heart, then whatever you are going to say, that will just come across like a preachy lecture. It will not carry much value. Now look at this slide and you will see I've highlighted in red, I've underlined all the numbers, the important numbers. Now you will say that how can we remember so many numbers? Well, you may not be able to remember all of them, but at least some you can. So you have to strategize what you want to remember and what you don't want to remember. Okay, so today is just our first session. Just follow what I'm teaching. We'll have many more sessions coming up, and trust me, I'll be able to help you take your SSB preparation to a different level altogether. So just follow along. Now let's study about 2024, which is the last year for which there is concrete data available. Now, as per United Nations Conference on Trade and Agreement data, that is UNCTAD, the bilateral trade in the year 2024 between India and Pakistan stood at somewhere around $1.18 to $1.21 billion, out of which Pakistan's exports to India were a dismal around $500,000, whereas India's exports to Pakistan were of around $1.2 billion. Okay, after Pulwama attack, business has reduced a lot because India has put a lot of restrictions. We'll study those in detail, due to which now the whole trade scenario is heavily in India's favor. Okay, trade balance strongly in India's favor. What are the top imports, Pakistan's exports to India? What are the top imports of India from Pakistan? Textiles, agriculture products, chemicals, that is small scale shipments though, miscellaneous manufactured goods, and the quantities are so small that even with UNCTAD data, they have not listed the amount of the import, the US dollar value of the imports, because none of these is exceeding, $200,000, that is $0.2 million. Okay. Whereas if you compare it with India's exports to Pakistan, the main items in the year 2024, the top of the list was petroleum products, that is refined fuels and oils, worth nearly $674 million. Organic chemicals worth nearly $148 million. Pharmaceuticals worth nearly $129 million. Sugar and confectionery items worth nearly $103 million. Vehicles, non-railway that is, worth nearly $29 million. Now, one very important thing you need to understand, before the Pulwama attack, India had given most favored nation status to Pakistan. A lot of people will talk about it. A lot of candidates talk about it, but they don't really understand what this means. When they hear the term most favored, they feel as if it's some sort of a special treatment or special privilege we had given to Pakistan, whereas reality is exactly opposite. When we grant a most favored nation status to any other country under WTO rules, it simply means what you are saying is that we are not going to discriminate against you. We are not going to put special tariffs or special barriers in terms of doing trade with you. So that is what most favored nation status is. People misunderstand it that it's some sort of a special treatment. It's not. In fact, it is a way of saying to them that we are going to treat you equally at par with everyone else. We are not going to discriminate. The term most favored nation in trade means that a country must treat another trading partner no less favorably than it treats any other. Okay, India granted MNF status to Pakistan in 1996 under WTO rules, but revoked it in February 2019 after the Pulwama terror attack. Pakistan, on the other hand, never granted MNF status to India. So Pakistan has always played games with India. India has tried a lot to improve things, but Pakistan has always played games. We all know that. Now, what is the meaning of MFN status? Definition: MFN is a principle under the World Trade Organization that requires countries to extend equal trade advantages like low tariffs, high import quotas, or fewer trade barriers to all WTO members. Okay. Effect: if a country grants MNF status to another, it cannot discriminate against that country compared to other WTO members. So again, just to reiterate, it's a way of telling another country that we are not going to discriminate against you. Okay, it does not mean we are going to give you special treatment. Now, the timeline, we saw 1996, India granted MNF status to Pakistan as required under WTO rules. However, Pakistan did not reciprocate, citing political mistrust and security reasons. Instead, it proposed a non-discriminatory market access framework, but this was never fully implemented. In 2019, India revoked MFN status for Pakistan after the Pulwama terror attack. This allowed India to impose higher tariffs and restrict imports from Pakistan. Now, what was the impact? India imposed 200% custom duties on imports from Pakistan after revoking MFN. And there has been no news after that it has been reduced or there is any reduction in that. Because of this, trade collapsed. Bilateral trade fell sharply, with Pakistan's exports to India dropping from nearly $547 million in 2019 to less than $1 million. We saw $500,000 in 2024 to less than $1 million by 2024-25. So Pakistan has suffered a lot due to it. Okay, the main loss has been to Pakistan because of this. Now, guys, one very, very important aspect why this topic you must study, because if you study and prepare it well, it will really help you impress the interviewing officer as well as the group testing officer. There's so much substance in this. Now, there was this World Bank report which came out in 2018. It was titled "A Glass Half Full: The Promise of Regional Trade in South Asia." It had concluded that if India and Pakistan could resolve their political issues, their security issues, then their trade would increase from nearly $2 billion a year to nearly 37 billions annually if they can resolve their political issues, their security issues, and all the trade related disagreements which they have. Okay, so that much potential this trade has. Key points. What were the key points from the World Bank study of 2018? Actual trade in 2018. This study came in 2018. Okay, so we are talking about the numbers of 2018. In that year, the bilateral trade was of around $2 billion, whereas the potential was of around $37 billion. This means India and Pakistan trade was operating as less than 5% of its potential. It was operating at less than 5% of its potential. Now, what are the main barriers which are causing this, that we are not able to reach the optimum level? What are the barriers? We'll now see it briefly, and then we'll study in depth. Okay, so the first is sensitive products list. Both countries maintain long lists of items excluded from tariff concessions. We'll see that in detail. Okay, limited border access. Pakistan allows only 138 items approximately, nearly 138 items to be imported from India via the Atari-Wagah land route. Trucks cannot move beyond border zones. Transit restrictions. Pakistan blocks Indian goods from reaching Afghanistan and Central Asia by land route. India blocks Pakistani goods from reaching Nepal, Bhutan, and Bangladesh. If India will allow this, India will earn through taxes. If Pakistan allows it, Pakistan will earn through taxes. So they are not getting that revenue from each other because of this barrier. Then non-tariff barriers, complicated customs procedures, visa restrictions, and lack of banking channels. Each of these points I'll help you understand in detail in a while. Regional context, South Asia's intra-regional trade, only 5% of total trade compared to 50% in East Asia and 25% in ASEAN. What it means is countries in East Asia, the countries which are there in East Asia, their intra-regional trade is nearly 50% of their total external trade. So if there is a particular country and if its external trade is of 100 crore rupees, then just with its neighbors in East Asia, it is doing a trade of at least 50 crores. So 50% trade is intra-regional. In ASEAN countries, it's nearly 25%, but in South Asia, it's a dismal 5%. Okay, Pakistan's trade with South Asia, just 8% of its global trade despite geographic proximity. So it's restricting your financial growth, your economic growth, Then same is with India, 3% of its global trade is with South Asia, even though it's such a big country in South Asia. Because of all these security concerns and political issues, we are not able to grow to our fullest potential. Now comes the main part of the study. Now comes the main part of what we are here to study. World Bank says that the potential is of reaching $37 billion. Why we are not able to reach that potential? Now we will study in detail. Each of those points we will study in detail. Pakistan keeps a negative list of nearly 1,209 items. There are nearly 1,800 items listed under WTO for international trade. And out of those 1,800 items, Pakistan has kept nearly 1,200, that is 2/3, on a negative list, which means it doesn't allow import of those items from India. Example, automobile and polyester. Now, why it is following this kind of a policy? Very, very simple. Sectors like agriculture, automobile, textile, and pharmaceuticals in Pakistan, the lobby of these businesses, they see India as a threat in terms of competition, that if we will allow imports in this field from India, not only will be the imports of good and better quality, but they will even be cheaper, and then we will go out of business. So they pressurize their government to not allow imports from India. Okay. Now, Pakistan had promised to do away with all imports banned by December 31, 2013, that was 13 years ago, and allow all items to be traded through land route, but it's not done yet. It has not done it yet. Okay. Now, MFN status, we already studied about it. Now, India, on the other hand, plays a different game. India is also very smart. We have not kept a negative list. What we have done is India imposes heavy tariff on nearly 600 items to discourage their import from Pakistan. So we are not keeping a negative list. We are following another method. We have kept very heavy taxes, heavy tariffs on nearly 600 items so that our traders will not import those items from Pakistan. Now, just to give you an example, under WTO rules, if a country gives MFN status to another country, then the rate of tax on agricultural products on that particular country is around 32.8%. Okay, all right. Whereas India has applied nearly 113, had applied, of course, now it's up to 200. But before the Pulwama attacks, the rate India had applied on agricultural imports from Pakistan was of around 113.5%. Now you can see the global average was around 32.8. India had applied nearly 113.5%. Whereas for non-agricultural products, the global average, the global practices are of around 10.7% tax. India had applied 34.6% on Pakistan. So you can understand, the level of tax we had applied on those kind of imports from Pakistan to discourage our traders from importing those items from Pakistan. Now, after Pulwama attack, we had flatly increased the tariffs to around 200%, and there has been no news of any reduction in that. So that is the reason why imports from Pakistan have declined very badly. We saw that. Now, the third issue is we have a long land border, yet trading only by road and rail along the Atari-Wagah border. With Nepal, we have 27 border crossings. With Pakistan, we barely have 4 to 5. And even out of those, only one border crossing we use for trade. So that is another thing which restricts the growth of trade between these two countries. Then even on that particular trade route, only around 138 items are allowed to be exported from India to Pakistan. Again, that restricts trade in a major way. Now, there is another route which is in Kashmir, but then there are other unique issues which are there. For instance, there is one route that is Srinagar-Muzaffarabad route, and then there is Punch-Rawalkot route. But here on this route, there is a restriction that we can trade only 21 items, that too of Kashmiri origin. We had started using these routes for trade from 21st October 2008. And this was a part of the confidence building measure between India and Pakistan, allowing limited barter trade across the line of control. So this was barter trade. We were not required to pay in cash. In fact, payment in cash was not allowed. It was purely barter trade that was allowed. Suspension: trade was suspended in April 2019 due to concerns over misuse, smuggling, and security issues. So, as I said earlier, only 21 items were permitted to be traded through this route, and that too strictly of Kashmiri origin. So, let's say if someone in Pakistan wanted to buy oranges of Nagpur through this trade route, it wasn't allowed, it was not possible. Now, the list of those 21 items I am showing you on screen right now. In your free time, you can write it down if you want. Okay. Now, limitations: only barter trade, no cash transactions, good exchange directly. So that was one big problem. Restricted items: only Kashmiri origin products, no industrial or large scale manufactured goods. Limited visibility: trade was small in volume but symbolically important. Cumulative trade between 2008 to 2019 was just of around $1.27 billion. That is a period of nearly 12 years. Okay. So a lot of restriction was there. To conclude, the Srinagar, Muzaffarabad, and Punch Rawalkot LOC trade routes allowed only 21 Kashmiri origin items for duty-free barter trade. This was a tightly controlled confidence-building measure, later suspended in 2019. Another problem is 100% security check consignments from Pakistan seaports. So if any consignment is coming from Pakistan via sea route, so let's say you don't want to trade through the land route and you decide you will do trade via sea route, then any shipment which comes in from Pakistan, there is a 100% security check, which makes it a very time consuming and a logistical nightmare. So people will never really do this unless, of course, there is some extreme requirement. environment. Okay, imagine each and every container being opened, and each and everything that container contains is going to be opened and checked and inspected by the security guys. On top of it, even if we want to do that, we don't have adequate security personnel and measures at ports. So the staffing issue is there. There is limited manpower. So that makes the whole process more longer. There are delays. So it's not really a viable option. Customs not efficient. Processing time of documents takes a lot of time. This is another problem. And if you are bringing in anything that is a consumable material, it will be tested at the lab. That is a legal requirement. Labs are also understaffed, under-resourced. That is the case with almost all government facilities in our country. So again, it takes a lot of time. So again, sea route is also not a very profitable option or not a very advisable option. Then there was one option of train, that was Samjhauta Express. It used to run twice a week, but it was stopped after Pulwama. So even that option is not there anymore. Even when that option was there were a lot of problems with it. Non-availability of wagons, lack of warehousing, pilferage, and wastage. So these kind of problems were there with Samjhauta Express as well. Okay. Now, SWIFT, Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. Now, you need to understand how payments are made in international trade. Without it, you will never really understand, what are the problems between India and Pakistan in terms of trade. Now, guys, please understand how payments are made in international businesses. Okay. Now, guys, now let's say I'm a person, I'm living in India. I have purchased laptops worth 1 crore rupees from IBM, which is in China. So how do I make a payment? What I'm required to do is I need to take 1 crore rupees and I'll go to a local bank, let's say SBI, and I'll tell them that this is the payment which needs to be made to IBM in China. So SBI will take that 1 crore rupee and they will charge, of course, a commission for it or a service fee, of course. And then what they will do is they will contact their business partner bank with that particular bank, they will already have agreements, legal agreements to facilitate these kind of payments. Okay, if you have any relative who is living outside India, the moment they come back, they enter the Indian airspace, their flight enters Indian airspace, they turn on their mobile, they will immediately get bombarded with messages from Indian companies like Vodafone and Airtel that they should use their network. So these are business agreements. Okay. So the SBI will contact their business partner bank in Hong Kong and tell them that we have received 1 crore rupees. Now you can pay 1 crore rupees to IBM. So from where will that partner bank in China, let's say Bank of China, for example, from where will they pay 1 crore rupees? Now understand this very important point. In order to facilitate this payment, SBI needs to maintain its own account in Bank of China, which is called Nostro account. Okay, SBI needs to maintain its own account in US dollars, that too, in international currency, in that particular bank in China. And then what happens is it's from that Nostro account. So it's SBI's own account. It's from that particular account that the payment will be made to IBM, and that Bank of China will charge a small fee for facilitating this transaction. Now, this messaging, the messaging system which is used by international banking institutions is called SWIFT, that is Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. It is headquartered in Brussels, Belgium. It was established in around 1973. It's used by more than 170 countries and more than 11,000 financial institutions worldwide. Now, the problem between India and Pakistan is we do not have agreements between our banks to facilitate this kind of a payment, and that creates a major problem in dealing. So how international payments are made, I've already helped you understand. Okay, most of you will not be knowing that Nirav Modi's big fraud, which happened nearly 14,000 crore rupees, was related to this SWIFT system. What he had done allegedly, is he had this arrangement with the staff members of the Punjab National Bank branch in Nariman Point, Mumbai. where they just used to send this message. This Swift is just a messaging system. It's not a money transfer system. It's just a messaging system. So they just used to send message to one of the branches or one of the banks in Hong Kong and China that we have received this X amount from this X person. Now you can make payment from our account to that particular person. In reality, the payment in Mumbai was never made. So only messages were going out. That's how he was able to siphon off nearly 14,000 crore rupees. Those are the allegations. So just to help you understand, I've explained that. So that's how payments work at international level. You need to maintain a Nostro account in the other bank in that particular country. But there are no agreements between Indian and Pakistani banks regarding Nostro accounts. And in 2005, we had agreed to allow two banks of India to have such agreements with two banks of Pakistan. But in reality, that never materialized. Okay, so this creates another problem. Now, what is that problem? Since we can't make payments directly, what we do is we use third-party payment systems. But India and Pakistan do not have such banking or payment facility. So what do we do? As I said earlier, that 2005 agreement was signed to allow two banks to open branches, not implemented till date. So how payments are made without direct banking links? Third country banks, indirect settlement. So for example, businesses in India and Pakistan often use banks in Dubai, Singapore, or London as intermediaries. So what I do is I make a payment to a bank in Dubai, and in turn, that bank in Dubai will make a payment to that person in Pakistan if I'm buying something from a businessman in Pakistan. Vice versa, Pakistanis will pay to a bank in Dubai or Singapore or London, and from there the payment will be rerouted to me. That's how it works. Now, of course, it increases cost, it increases time, because there will be additional commission charged and there will be additional time taken. So that is another problem. Okay. Example, an Indian importer pays in US dollar to a Dubai bank, which then settles with a Pakistani exporter's bank account in Dubai. This avoids direct India-Pakistan banking ties, but adds extra cost and time. Okay. Now, another option is that another effect is that barter trade. We already saw it's now stopped completely on the Srinagar, Muzaffarabad, and Punch Rawalkot routes. Trade was done via barter only. No money moved, just goods exchanged. This was a workaround to avoid banking transactions altogether. Third option is the illegal hawala route. You might have heard about it. You give cash to one person in India, tell him that this needs to be paid to a person in Pakistan. That person takes a certain commission, and they have international network. It's a very efficient network, illegal but highly efficient network, and payment reaches that particular person in Pakistan. It doesn't get registered in government system. That's why it's illegal. Okay. Historically, some traders used hawala networks, informal money transfer systems, to settle accounts. These are unofficial, risky, and discouraged by regulators, but they filled the gap when formal banking wasn't available. Then last option, special arrangements via multilateral trade. Sometimes Pakistani goods reach India indirectly via Dubai or Singapore re-export, and payments are made to those intermediaries instead of directly to Pakistan. We will see in a while, this is a very interesting aspect of trade between India and Pakistan, and it is unique to only India and Pakistan when it comes to international trade. We don't have such informal trade with any other country. What happens is, since I can't directly buy from Pakistan, because there is high tariff. So what I tell the Pakistani businessman is, you do one thing, you send it to Dubai, and then my contact in Dubai will then send it to me, and in India it will show as business with Dubai rather than business with Pakistan. So that's how it shows up as India UAE trade rather than India Pakistan trade, although in reality the product has come from Pakistan. Same is the case with Pakistan. They want to import those items which are on the banned list. What they do is they ask the Indian businessman to send it to a person in Dubai, and that person in Dubai reroutes it to Pakistan. So the payment is also done via this route. That's how it works. Okay. Similarly, Indian goods may reach Pakistan through third countries, and Dubai is the favorite, you can say, middle place from where this is done. Impact of no direct banking links, higher transaction costs, extra fees for third country banks, longer settlement times, payment can take days instead of hours, reduced transparency, it's illegal in fact, hawala, harder to track flows, risk of misuse, smaller trade volumes, many businesses avoid the hassle altogether. Now, guys, I hope you're understanding this topic. If you have any suggestions regarding how we can improve, you can leave your comments in the comment section. Now, another problem is no international roaming allowed. So Indian companies, telecom companies do not have agreement with Pakistani telecom companies that when your subscriber will come to our country, we will allow them to use our network. Due to this, there is a huge problem. Why? Think about it from a CEO or CFO's level. International trade is generally the agreements and all the purchase is done by people who are either handling their own business, so they are very rich, are earning in multi crores per year, or it is done at the CEO or a CFO level. Now, guys, if you're a very rich person, you probably will have a lot of employees, and most of these employees will be calling you every now and then. Ask any person who is running a business, ask anyone who is in a higher authority in government service or in a private company. His phone is busy all the time. His subordinates are contacting him, his bosses are contacting him, customers are contacting him. Now, imagine if your phone suddenly goes dead for days altogether. It's almost like paralysis in today's times. That's why the CEO in Pakistan will say, rather than going to India and buying this stuff from there, I'll buy it from somewhere else, even if it costs a little higher. Same will be the attitude of Indian businessmen. So this small little thing, it looks small on the surface, but it causes a major problem in international trade. Another thing, we have already seen both denying access to third country via each other. Okay, Pakistan denying access to Afghanistan, Iran, and Central Asia, and India denying access to Bangladesh, Bhutan, Myanmar, and Nepal. Can generate revenue for both countries in the form of taxes. Now, let's understand what is the consequence of these reasons. Due to all these barriers, this negative list, this problem in the land route, in the sea trade, because of all these problems, what happens? It leads to something that is called informal trade. It's a unique thing between India and Pakistan. What is informal trade, guys? I already explained. What we do is, to avoid all these barriers and headaches, the Indian businessman tells the Pakistani businessman, do one thing, send this product to this X person in Dubai. He in turn will send it to me. In India, it will look like a purchase from Dubai. Okay. Whereas in reality, the product has come from Pakistan. That is why it is called informal trade. It's not illegal, but it's informal because it doesn't get registered as trade between India and Pakistan. Rather, it shows up as trade between India and Dubai or some other third country through which that particular product is rerouted to our country or vice versa to Pakistan. Now, there are many studies done in the past regarding what is the volume of this trade. Okay. There is no way to find out exactly in 100% correct manner about the volume of informal trade between India and Pakistan, but there have been few studies in the past which have given an approximate idea. For instance, in 2005, there was a study conducted by Sustainable Development Policy Institute of Pakistan regarding this. They had estimated in their study that the informal trade between India and Pakistan is of around $545 million annually. Then in 2011, there was a study done by USA Trade Project, and they had concluded in their study that the volume of this trade is of around $1 billion. In 2012, Indian Council for Research on International and Economic Relations had conducted a study, and they had concluded that the volume of this trade annually is of around $4.71 billion. This has been the most extensive and most reliable study by far, and we'll see the major points of this study in a while. In 2013, Wilson Center, which is based in Washington, D.C., they had carried out a study and they had estimated that the volume of this trade annually is of around $1 billion. Sustainable Development Policy Institute of Pakistan in 2013 had carried out a study and they had estimated that the volume of this trade annually is of around $1.7 billion. Now let's see the main points of the 2012 study by Indian Council for Research on International and Economic Relations. What they had concluded, as I said earlier, they had concluded that the volume of annual trade, informal trade, is of around $4.71 billion, out of which India's exports to Pakistan are estimated to be around $3.99 billion. So again, huge benefit was for India. India was the major beneficiary. Imports from Pakistan were of around $0.7 billion. So the balance of trade was in India's favor. Now, this study was carried out in 2012. Today, we are sitting in 2026, 14 years down the line. We can safely presume it must have doubled or probably tripled by now. Okay. The favorite route for this informal trade is India, Dubai, Pakistan. So Indians will send product to Dubai, from Dubai rerouted to Pakistan. Same thing, Pakistani businessmen will send it to Dubai. From Dubai, it will come to India. In India, it will show as India-UAE trade. In Pakistan, it will show as Pakistan-UAE trade. Why Dubai is the most preferred destination? Easily accessible by both countries. It's a duty-free zone. Ease of travel and logistics, business-friendly environment for trade, no trade quotas or barriers, no direct taxes on corporate profits or personal income, 100% repatriation of capital and profits, and no foreign exchange controls. Indian and Pakistani population, there is a huge Indian and Pakistani population in Dubai. So the network of traders there enables free flow of information on commodities. So it's very easy to facilitate transactions. The Pakistani community living in Dubai helps the Indian traders identify from where in Pakistan they can buy a next particular product. Same is the case on the other side. Then middlemen of Indian or Pakistani origin in Dubai who bring together the buyers and sellers in both countries and facilitate trade transactions. At times, now this is something that is spoken a lot, that is said a lot. Not really sure how true this is, but you'll find a number of articles on the internet and leading newspapers saying this, that at times the ship is just rerouted with change in documentation. And the bill of lading is changed, and then the ship is just rerouted. So from India, the ship goes to Dubai, the documents are changed, the same ship then goes to Pakistan. Same thing happens from Pakistan, the ship goes to Dubai, documents are changed, and then it comes to India. In India, it is made to look like it's a ship directly coming from Dubai. In Pakistan, it is made to look like it's a ship directly coming from Dubai. Okay. Then there are other routes also of this informal trade, few other routes. For instance, India, Dubai, Iran, that is Bandar Abbas port, from there to Afghanistan, and from Afghanistan again in Pakistan. This route is used when you want to send products to the northwestern part of Pakistan. Then India, Afghanistan, Pakistan air route, you send the product to Afghanistan. From there, by land, it goes into Pakistan. Mostly, this is especially a preferred way for the products which you want to send to the northwestern part of Pakistan. India, Dubai, Pakistan, that is Karachi, then again Afghanistan, then again Pakistan, again Northwest province is where is the destination for this. Delhi, Amritsar, Lahore, passenger bus, rail, this has been stopped since 2019. We already saw that. Cross LOC trade routes, Uri, Salamabad, and Poonch, Rawalkot, we already saw. Now, 50% of the products being exported informally from India to Pakistan are on the negative list. So it makes it clear that this informal trade is mainly focused on those items which Pakistan has banned to be imported from India, and on which India has kept a huge tariff if it is imported from Pakistan. 44% of the products informally imported into India from Pakistan fall under India's sensitive list. So it's the same thing the other way around. Main items of informal export from India to Pakistan, 23% is real jewelry, including gold, diamonds, and precious stones, 20% textiles, 6% electronic appliances, and 5% scrap. India's informal imports from Pakistan, 49% textiles, 32% dry fruits, 10% spices. 68% of this informal trade happens via Dubai. 26% was through the Delhi, Amritsar, Lahore passenger bus rail. This study was concluded in 2012. Please keep that in mind. Things have changed a lot since then. 4% was from Afghanistan, 2% through cross LOC trade route. Now, this indirect route is 11 times longer. Now, look at this. It's 11 times longer, 4 times more expensive, yet it's 3 times more efficient. It's 11 times longer, 4 times more expensive, yet it's 3 times more efficient. That's the irony. Okay. So that's all about trade. I'm sure now you must have an understanding that how you can talk about other things also, which are very important from international relations and geopolitical perspective, and how you can impress the board. Okay. So that was all about trade. If you have liked the video and found it informative, I'm sure you have. Please like the video, share it with all your friends who are preparing for SSB, and encourage everyone to subscribe to our channel. On coming Monday and every Monday, we'll be having sessions, live sessions on personal interview. On coming Monday, we have a very interesting session coming up. Please don't miss it. Okay, subscribe to the channel, join our WhatsApp group. Link will be given in the description of this video so that you get update and reminder regarding it. And don't worry, we'll not be sending you any personal message or calling you on that number. And again, I have uploaded 15-day Psychology Foundation course free for you on this YouTube channel. You can go to the playlist titled Psychology Foundation course and watch all the videos there. I'm sure you'll find those videos informative. And please subscribe to the channel. I'm really sorry, guys. There was a problem with the internet. So we'll end session here. Okay. On Monday, we have an interview session coming up. I'm really sorry about this. Internet connection went off. So we'll meet on Monday, 9 p.m. sharp. And tomorrow, we are covering the nuclear threat aspect of Pakistan. So please join us for that. Really sorry about this. Please take care of yourself. Good night. Bye-bye.